Anyway. Awesome. So we can see a few people joining us. Fantastic to have you on board. Can see a bunch of people in here already. Amazing. Welcome. We've got Anne, Anthony, Astrid, Coco, Deb, Diane, Emma, Hatton, Patricia, Sally, Sam, a bunch of other people, even more joining as I'm speaking. Fabulous to have you here. Welcome. Today's masterclass is with Brad. You can probably see him here on screen as well. Give us a little wave, Brad, as you're getting yourself sorted there with everything else. We've got a few more people joining as we go. Welcome if you are joining. Today, we've got the Brad Hiskins. I'll introduce Brad in a second. I guess, I recognize a bunch of the names here, but there's also a fair few people that I don't know yet. So I'd love it if you can just help us test our technology for a second as well. Jump into the chat box there that you'll see at the bottom of the screen. Say hi, give us a little wave, and tell us where you're from. Because I have a feeling we've probably got a bunch of Aussies on the call today. I know Australians, a lot of us, a lot of you, if you're Australian, will know of Brad or know Brad personally even. He is definitely a well-known figure in the local Australian massage industry. And then we've probably got other people as well. We've been, sending this out to all sorts of people. We've got Maui, that's pretty cool. Southeast Queensland, Victoria, Australia, Canberra. Brad, that's you. Brad from Canberra.
Brad from Canberra.
Freezing. Northern Rivers, Ballarat, all sorts of people. Thank you for sharing. Keep dropping those in there as we go. It's great to know where people are from. Yeah, lots of Aussies on the call, which is absolutely amazing. Welcome. Really, really cool to have you here. My name's James. If we haven't met before, I am one of the partners of a business called The Health Leader Co. As you'll see on my shirt here, we do business coaching and hands-on training for massage therapists, covering all sorts of different things. But I'm not the main course for today. We've got Brad Hiskins. So I might just do a quick intro of you, Brad, and then get you to kind of talk a little bit about yourself. And then the actual topic of today's masterclass as well, we've got a little bit of very specific content to go through that's going to be really helpful. So Brad, if you haven't seen Brad before, I'd call you like a legend of the industry here in Australia, Brad. Brad's been around for like 35 years. At the moment, runs something like 4 clinics, I think, over 30 staff across different clinics, but also across his history has been involved in a bunch of the different parts of the industry here in Australia, doing sports massage, going to Olympic Games and working with elite sports teams, that kind of thing. And is also heavily involved with industry. What do you call it? Where you go to the government, you're talking to people about
industry rib poking.
Yeah, that's it. And also with the associations, just kind of trying to keep them accountable, maybe herd people in the right direction, and being a voice of the industry. Yeah, bring them together if possible. That kind of stuff. I know, but all of those discussions is something that Brad is really good at guiding, at having a voice, at being a bit of a champion of different causes as they come through, and therefore is fairly well known. But today, really what we're diving into, we did have a webinar masterclass a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago now, where Brad got to share a bunch of the things that he learned and shares with his new therapists about how to start up, how to move from kind of study to establishing yourself in the industry. And we kind of thought that a natural follow-on from that would be something like today's topic. Brad put this together himself. It's an article that we can link you to after this as well. But it's really like, how do therapists, after they've got through that first phase, how do they establish themselves long-term as a full-time professional and continue to actually raise the professional standard of the industry so that it can be seen as a really legitimate career choice long-term that pays well, that is a legitimate part of the wider healthcare system here in Australia and across the world? And how can we portray ourselves well to be able to be an industry that's taken seriously like we should be? So that's kind of the backbone of today's talk. But then, as always, we'll go through a bunch of questions. I did ask in advance in our group. I haven't even shared these with you yet, Brad. So we'll see. I might spring a few of those questions on you as we go. And you can always ask questions in the chat box there as we're going as well. Anyone who's on the call today, we've got a good number of people on live right now. type them in. We'll get to those questions as we go. But the first thing I might ask, Brad, I'll get you to just say hi and maybe introduce a little bit of yourself in the context of full-time professional, looking at the financial viability of massage, all that kind of stuff today. So welcome. How you doing?
Cold, but good, mate. Mighty Canberra is living up to its reputation. So quickly, background. So medical science degree, then went on to do my soft tissue therapy studies. Then I got into sport, worked at the Institute of Sport for 11 years. So 5 Olympics, 2 Commonwealth Games, head of service for both those. I was also president of Sports Medicine Australia ACT branch. I was also part of the group that wrote our initial competencies back in 2002 or 4, whenever it was. Taught at TAFE for about 12, 14 years. Run a whole lot of workshops and over the last 20 years. And now, and I actually, I'm not sure I told you this last time, but we actually used to run a whole bunch of clinics up the east coast of Australia called Innate Health, and which was fun. We learned a lot. They didn't work out in the end, but that was good fun learning. So we run 4 clinics here in Canberra now with about 35 staff.
Yeah, fantastic. So heaps of experience to draw from. That's basically what we're looking at. Absolutely amazing to have you here sharing with us. Thank you. Really great to be able to learn from. I know you're very open with what it is that you share across the industry and very active on social media and that sort of stuff as well.
Too open sometimes.
I think that's the stage you're at in your career, right? You've reached that level where you
can filter anymore. My filter.
You can poke the bear a little bit when you feel it's needed, which is great. And we didn't mention MWax as well, so I've got to drop that in there because we're going to do a prize draw at the end of today's session or towards the end, giving away some MWax products. That's a product line that you've been working on with your amazing partner Renee. Which is, maybe we'll talk more about that at the end when we do a little draw. I guess, like, to try and bring us on topic for today, really when we were talking about this, it was like that idea that I guess the problem that we see is that a lot of massage therapists fail to kind of reach that level of income and consistency that allows them to really develop a long-term, full-time work career. And so if we kind of look at the challenge of that, it means sometimes people feel that they have to leave and get another job or even just work part-time around other things. That sort of feeds then into the perception of the industry being something that is maybe not perceived as being such a stable career choice for people who might be in that sort of choosing what they're going to study and students and that kind of thing. So the flow-on effect of that is damaging to the industry as a whole, as well as individual massage therapists who aren't earning what they maybe should, aren't perceived at the level that they should be in their local communities. So I guess what we wanted to do was leverage some of the experience and knowledge you've had, and you've got these like five ways that massage therapists can step up and earn more, but not just literally about the money. It's also about being perceived as more of a professional and raising that standard to where it should be.
Yeah, I might start off by saying hi to Sam Small from the US, who states to bridge the gap of the shamefully insufficient training that massage schools typically give here. You're not alone, Sam. That's worldwide. I'm not sure why we're afflicted worldwide with this perception of ourselves, but we are. And as much as I've been in the profession for more than 3 decades, we've been trying so desperately to raise the bar in spite of ourselves. We continually push ourselves down the run. And I remember many years ago when someone said to a colleague of mine, "Are you a physiotherapist?" And his response was, "No, I'm just a massage therapist." And I think we've all heard that before. I remember I sort of looked and thought, why are you belittling yourself so much? Like, I was at a stage in my life where I didn't know the difference between all the professions. And I just perceived myself as being equal to them all. I wasn't better or worse, I was just different. And you see in the article that I wrote that people say that we can't be full-time, and I say bullshit. And I say that because if a chiro, an osteo, a physio, exercise physio, if they can all be full-time, why can't we? Because what is the difference? To me, there is no difference. Is that if a physio can work 38 hours a week hands-on, chiro, osteo can work 8 hours a week hands-on, then why can't we? So what's stopping us? So are physios and chiros just more physically able? I don't think so. Are they more mentally fit? I don't think so. So I can't see any reason why we can't be full-time. Of course, there's always going to be circumstances where people are physically and mentally not fit. There'll be certain reasons for that, but that's the same across all industries. And if you look at the statistics, which I love to look at, if you look at the ATO, which is the Australian Taxation Office stats for physiotherapists, the bulk of those people are not full-time. They're actually part-time. So we're very similar, if not the same. So again, I love to look at the reality of those situations and then push back against them. Because if we go out to the public and say, come join us to become a remedial massage therapist, we're generally just part-time. That's not a great perception, and it's not the reality of the situation. And for those that say that, and I see it all the time on Facebook and Instagram, it's impossible to work full-time. I can only do 4 patients today. And I think, well, that might be you as an individual, depending on your circumstances, your life challenges. You might be looking after kids or your mother or whatever the case may be. But for the bulk of us, we can. And I personally know people that have done 40 to 50 hours hands-on a week for 30 years and have done it with a smile on their face. So it can be achieved, and it is achieved. And I look at our clinic where we've got full-time employees, 38 hours a week, and have been doing so for years and years and years. I've heard a few people say, oh, it's a bit difficult for women, but we've got women achieving that goal with a smile on their face. So as much as I hear it, I can rebut it with so many other circumstances saying, no, that might be for some, but it's not for all. So we can be full-time physically and mentally if we want to. Now, it might mean you have to get in the gym and get fit. I've been doing that my entire career, staying physically fit as much as possible, because it is a physically demanding job, like the other ones are. And I'm not sure how you stay mentally fit. It's probably more mentally sane. But I think the more that you immerse yourself in patients and the profession, then you will slowly build up that mental fitness. And when I tell my new staff to come on, is I tell them that you've got to be aware of your mental capabilities, because it'll get you before the physical stuff will. You get really tired. So I suppose the first point is that we can be full-time. It's a choice. If that choice is limited by your physical and mental capabilities, you can grow, and you will. And there might be some other life challenges that keep you down, but therefore just downgrade your expectations accordingly. But you don't have to yell that out to the community saying, we can only be part-time, because for the next person coming on, it'll downgrade their perception of our profession and so on. So I think what we put out into the public needs to be very, very professional. So we're perceived as such, and therefore we'll be treated as such. And we don't.
Can I ask a question, Brad? Because I know this is what people will ask, or one of the objections they might have. When you say someone is working full-time and they're doing 38 hours, how much of that is actual massage versus, I don't know, notes and resetting rooms and stuff that's not the hands-on side of things?
Yeah. So if you go from an employee point of view, so we won't talk about the sole traders. I've known sole traders that have worked 60 hours a week hands-on, and they get through it. Not saying that everyone should do that or try to do that, but it is, people are capable of doing that much. So the bulk of our guys that are working the 38 hours, like the standard full-time week in Australia, the hands-on stuff. So I give my guys 1 hour a week paid to do the tutorial. So we have an all-staff tutorial. So Renee cooks for everyone, and it's the most enjoyed 1 hour of the week. So they get that. There's other time off, depending on, they might be doing some mentoring. They might go out to a GP clinic to do a presentation. So there's that sort of time. But the bulk of them we're doing between 30 and 34 hours probably.
Yeah, cool.
On average, there's some might do a 36-hour week, some might do a 25-hour week if they're having an off week, but it's generally between that 25 and 34. Yeah, that'd be about the average.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. Because I know people will ask, that's the thing. Because often people will say, I work full time as a massage therapist, but what they mean is that 4 or 5 treatments a day across a week. So they might be seeing 20 or 25. And lots of people would consider that like a full-time workload, especially if they're a sole trader, because they've got to do all the other stuff that comes with running a business as well, right? And that will take them up to that amount.
Yeah, and I'd argue that a lot of people blow that time out. Like with our guys, we train our guys very early on that you do your notes in the session, and people say you can't do that. I said, well, I've been doing it for 35 years, so please don't tell me you can't do that. And every other profession you go and see, an osteo, or chiro, physio, whatever, GPs, they're all doing your notes while you're talking to them. So what makes us any different? And I think that might come down to the levels of massage therapy, remedial massage, soft tissue therapy, where you go see someone at a Cert 4 level, which is your day spa relaxation massage, then you've got this perception. You're walking in, you don't want to talk to anyone, you just lay down and they go through a routine. So, I mean, the note-taking there is probably zero. Well, it is zero because I can't remember anyone ever taking notes when I've gone into one of those places. Whereas you step up to the remedial level where there is definitely going to be some more note-taking, but it's not going to be extreme because a lot of people will come in saying, I'm just running a marathon, a bit sore. So your notes aren't going to be pages long. They might only take 30 seconds, if that. And a lot of people say it takes me 15 minutes to change their room. I don't know what they're doing in that 50-minute period. Our guys do it all day long. We see about 2,500 people a month, and our guys do it without hesitation, towels off, towels on, room clean, done. And they're doing it in a couple of minutes. So I think that time frame where I see employers allowing their staff 3 hours a day, 3 or more for changing rooms, thinking you can't run a business like that. And I'm not sure how every other profession could do it back to back and we can't. So again, it's that perception that we have to do business in a particular way and all the other professions don't.
Yeah.
So
and even as you're talking, I'm eating this up because we talk about this stuff all the time. For me, I mean, as trainers in this industry, but you're doing it. And I think even just hearing someone who's been doing it that way for a long time, running very successful businesses, has staff that are obviously enjoying that and fitting in really well with that culture, that does change the perception that some people might have from, you know, however they learned or wherever they might have had their first job or whatever their teachers at college told them. And just seeing the reality of how it can work and comparing it to what people might have heard before, even just that can often create change, right? So people watching this right now are suddenly going, I wonder what that could look like in my practice.
Put it this way, James, if you've got someone that has an extra 15 minutes off per day, let's say they, instead of being back-to-back patients, they have a 15-minute break, just one per day, right? Over a year, that adds up to 38 hours. So that's one full week they're not working because they take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to look at increasing your income is that you have to minimize those breaks. Now, some people might not be able to. They just get too tired physically and mentally. And I accept that. That's no problems. And we've got people who say, Brad, I'm mentally not capable of doing that right now. So you give them more time. There's no problem with that. But if you are, then that 15 minutes is a complete waste of time. If you do that 3 or 4 times a day, you're missing out on 4 or 5 weeks' work. And you're bringing in $2,500, $3,000 a week. Do the math. That's a whole lot of money that you're missing out on. Sort of 10, 15, up to 20,000 bucks. So from a business point of view, the moment someone comes into our clinic, they see how everyone else works and they assimilate within, and they never, ever are concerned with those timeframes because everyone else is doing it. And I think what we've done in our profession is we've, and I see it, like you got 15 minutes off, you wipe down the dust, I don't know what people do in that 15 minutes. I don't think it's necessary. If you are in a beauty clinic or somewhere where the aesthetics are very important, then potentially so, I can understand that. But even like our clinic, which is an assess treat clinic, the bulk of what we see is pain and injury based. then we don't need that. The people don't care if your posters are straight or if the towel's not got military corners. They're there for a purpose, not the aesthetics.
And you're also touching on something else, I think, Brad, in terms of like even having a financial goal. Like we speak with a lot of therapists who just don't even think like that. They don't really think about, well, how much am I going to earn at the end of the year if I see this many treatments per week and I charge this much? And I almost feel like the first step to earning more is just even being open to thinking about how much am I going to earn if I organize my practice this way? Because you're talking like, what's so logical, you want to see this many people, you just cut down on breaks. But I think some people they don't have that perception of look forward to the end and then back again. Look at the goal and then work it out.
Yeah, I think that's the start of the article I wrote, which was some people have come to me and said, I want to earn more money. And I said, how much more do you want to earn? And they said, well, I'm not sure. And I've had it happen so many times over my career. And I said, okay, I want you to do two things for me. I want you to go home. I want you to think about how much you need to earn and how much you want to earn. Now, I think a lot of people might have heard that before, but I don't think a lot of people actually apply that practically. So those are how much you need to earn, how much you need to earn to pay all your bills, to pay your petrol, to pay all the ongoings. So you need to make that amount of money. And then how much you want to earn so you can go watch a game of football, go on a holiday, do all those things. So when you've got those figures, then if it's $100,000 you need, you want to make, then just work backwards from there. It's a pretty simple mathematical equation. It's got three parts to it. So, and again, the article's got it in there. Or you can do the opposite way and say, I'm only good for treating 4 hours a day. That's it. And I'm only good for 5 days a week. So that's 20 hours all up of treatment. Most people only work 44 weeks a year when you take away 4 weeks holiday, a couple of weeks sick, public holidays and so on. And you can do the math from that end. So you can think, if I charge $100 an hour, I work 4 hours a day for 5 days a week for 44 weeks in a year, times those out, and it'll show you what you can make under that capacity. And if that's not enough, then you have to change some of those parameters. I'm going to have to work more, or I'm going to have to charge more, or I'm going to have to reduce my session time so I can fit more people in that 4 hours. So it's a very simple mathematical equation to start from.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I was going to make that point. We do this exercise with some of our clients when they come on board, with some of our therapists. It's like, how much do you want to earn? But it's not just per hour, because there's different levers. I think of them like literally like levers. You've got the number of treatments, the type of treatments, what you're charging across how many weeks per year. And if you're not earning enough, just charge more. And I know this is number one in your 5 rules, because to me, it seems like the most obvious. You don't have to change anything else about how you're treating, about your business, about how many clients you've got or anything. The simplest thing to change is just literally your price point, and you earn more for no extra work. It doesn't take any more time or effort.
No, and it seems like such a ridiculously simple thing to say, is that charge more. But I think talking to you just previously, we did a little poll where about 140 people responded, and how much people were charging per hour shocked me. A lot of people charging less than $100 an hour, and even in country areas, that's still like a very low price. So to me, again, I'm quite analytical, so I'll have a look at the local market and say, well, what is each therapist charging in our profession? But then look at our peer professions and see how much they're charging. So, when you see like a young physio who for a 20-minute block charges $120, then you have to try and value your worth in comparison to that. Right. And to me, so I get a bit embarrassed sometimes when I look at my charges, my charge out fee. Where someone asked me the other day, and I said it's like $135 for 30 minutes, and they said, "How can you possibly do that?" And I said, "I could charge heaps more. I'm booked out for 6-7 weeks in advance." So when you say charge more, it sounds easy, but there's a lot of dot points underneath that which allow you to do so. So that retention and attraction. So how do you create that retention and attraction? And I think that's where the bulk of this comes from, is you have to put yourself forward as a necessary part of the health network. And we are terrible at that. We play ourselves down. We're apathetic. I don't know why are we so apathetic? It's like we attract apathetic people to the profession. It's like, come on, wake up, guys, let's go. And for me, I've put a lot of effort into becoming, sounds a bit ridiculous, an attractive therapist, but you know what I mean? So for things like, I put myself on the ACT Sports Medicine Australia branch because I wanted to be surrounded by the local experienced physiotherapists, experienced sports physicians, sports doctors. And I worked my way up over a period of about 8 or 9 years to become president. So I was president of the ACT branch of Sports Medicine Australia. Then I had to write articles and so on. So it was an uncomfortable thing to do, to get outside of my comfort zone. But then people then went, all right, I know Brad. So when someone like a sports physician or a sports physio wanted a lot of hands-on work, I just became the person that I might not have been the best person in the region, but it was the only one they knew because I put myself in that position. I'd also ran workshops. So I'd pick a topic that I thought I need to be better at that. And I'd go, right, in October, I'm running a workshop, and I'd sell the workshop, which meant that I had no excuse. I had to know by October. So I worked my butt off to make sure that when I went and do the presentation in Sydney or Brisbane, that I had every bit of knowledge I could possibly muster to give those people. And I do it in the local area. So then if, like on the nerve stuff, which I love. So if a local therapist went, I'm really struggling with this nerve-based patient, they go, shit, I'll send them to Brad. So there was a lot of work to allow me to go, right, I'm going to charge more, because all that effort meant that I got booked out for longer and longer and longer with people I'd see people with a lot of conditions that are thinking, well, this is going to take months to get this person on the right track. So I'd get them to book in, once a week for the next 10 weeks. So it filled that up. And I'd say to them, look, if you don't need these, we'll get rid of them. But let's book them in now. So I was, my weeks were booked up. It took me a long time to get there. But I went out and I visited GP clinics. I went out and I visited sports physicians. I went to the Sportsmen Australia meetings. If there was a lymphedema meeting, I'd go to it on a Wednesday night, and I'd put my face there amongst the people which become potential referrers. But at the same time, when I went there, if I went to a lymphedema clinic, I didn't go there thinking, this is what our profession does all the time. Who's good with headaches? Me. What course have you done? None. You've got to go out there and be the most knowledgeable person in that area. So when you do go to those presentations and someone says, who knows about this? You can put your hand up and say, yeah, I am familiar with that, blah, blah, blah. And always ask a question at the end, never make a statement because you sound like an Aussie slang wanker. But if you ask a question, so you empower the speaker, then they'll perceive you as someone that is worthwhile communicating with afterwards. Yeah. And you start to form, but you've got to have that knowledge. And I think that's where we struggle. So thank you, James, for getting into our profession and uplifting everyone, is if we're going to, as a profession, raise our levels, we need individuals to be very, very, very good at something. Like someone says, I work with headaches, you have to be just as knowledgeable as a specialist. Of course, you haven't got the specialist skill set, but you've got to have that. You can have that knowledge. It's just a book. It's just reading. It's just learning. And then our skill set will become, in those circumstances, you'll see where our skill set starts to be indicated, and then you'll get the results, and then people will start to refer to you accordingly. So when you say raise your fees, there's a lot to it, but you can work to that. You can definitely work to that. And as soon as you're a week booked up in advance, you're crazy not to increase your prices. It's simple supply and demand.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything that you're saying. We do talk about this quite a lot, as I mentioned. And one of the models we use is we call it the health leader ladder. It's like as people move through their career from start to going on, they kind of move up this career ladder of health leadership is what we call it. But it's like at the start, it is just literally about how do I get clients and get hands-on. But as you move up and you start to gather enough clients, creating that specialization of expertise happens just sometimes by choosing who you want to work with, for starters. And as you do training in that, it feeds itself because you start to attract more of those type of clients in. So you're getting more of the hands-on experience with exactly that type of client, which leads you to be better at treating them. So it does sort of flow on really well once you're in and starting to get more established. I think that's a really natural way to kind of progress. And then we kind of look at the next ladder. It's like one side is the business learning and one side is the hands-on learning. And we sort of look at it like climbing a ladder. You need one and then the other, then the other, then the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think Diane has just mentioned in the chat group, living in a retirement community is extremely difficult to charge what we are worth. People will not book services they can't afford. And I couldn't agree more. But with what you just said, James, is there is certain groups of people that if you want to try and make more money, that you just can't associate yourself with. Otherwise, you have to downgrade your expectations. And I completely agree with Diane. Like, trying to charge what we're worth to that community is just not going to work. It can certainly be a portion of your work because you might feel bloody good about supplying service to those people, but you're going to have to decrease the percentage of time per week you spend with them if you feel like you're not making enough money for your needs and wants. And that's where, like, working with sports people, don't do it because they've got no money. And you very rarely do you make money out of sport. My first 25 years of dealing with sport, I didn't make any money. I loved it and I enjoyed it. So I was willing to do it for the experience. And that's where changing tack towards a group of people that potentially are more willing to pay the money for the outcome. It might not be your complete area of interest, but it becomes the cake. And then you can put the cream on it a little bit later on. So with me, I've associated myself with a lot of sports physicians quite purposely, because those guys, by the time they get to a sports physician, they've gone through the GPs and so on. So they tend to be a difficult patient. They tend to have some recalcitrant issues and stuff where it's ongoing. So therefore, if you associate with those guys and you get a referral from, and it's not going to be someone that's turning up after a marathon for a post-marathon recovery massage, which they come once and gone, is it those people you look and think, oh, wow, this is like a chronic hip issue. This is going to take really quite some time. So hence you're going to see that person a lot more over the next few months. So trying to forge your way into that area of health is really important. And where we absolutely kill it is people come to see us for maintenance.
Yeah.
They don't really go to see too many other professions for maintenance. You know, you don't generally go to see a physio for a maintenance session, but they do with us. And that's where we've got to leverage that more, where if you do take someone with a crook hip and you get them to a stage where they're very happy, then you put to them, look, your hip issue is not going to go away. It's going to be a lifelong issue. So this may come and go depending on circumstances. If you want to maintain this, let's try for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Empower them by saying, if you want to come back every week, it's up to you. If you want to come back every 4 weeks, we can adjust according to how you feel. But it'll give you that time frame, that time slot, sorry. And if you don't need it, you can get rid of it, but it's there for you as a maintenance. So rather than wait until you start to feel symptoms, we can address your signs and keep you in the best shape possible. And that's something we do better than anyone else. Something that I do with my body. Make sure that, like, I don't want my cranky old hip to get sore again. So I get it treated as regular as I can. And we need to leverage that more, but you need to be associated with that type of person first. Other than, you know, as Diane said, with the older population in the retirement homes where they don't have much money, as much as that's not be very rewarding, it's not going to be very financially rewarding.
Yeah. And therapists can make choices according to what they want or what they might need as well. There's no sort of lock-in that you have to charge whatever amount. If you're in a position where you want to work with elderly or, I don't know, some other support, we often do talk about a model where you have your mainstream clients that you're charging a good amount for. And if you've got cash flow coming through from those, it allows you to give a lower rate or a discount to specific clients because you might choose to. But you don't need to cap your rate for every person just based on who your poorest client is. It's like allow the people who have money and want to spend it to spend it and to support what you might want to do with others. I also want to just reverse back a couple of steps because we were talking about specialization there. And I guess becoming specialized after a period of time and being able to charge more for that is really great. It's powerful. But I guess the point is also you don't have to wait until you're specialized. Like if people are on the call and they're like, oh, hang on, I've only been working for a few years. I feel like I'm not specialized. Do I have to go study some big course just so I can add $20 to my rates? What would you say to that, Brad?
I'll give you an example. So I always tell all the people I mentor is to get fat in your profession first. So go and try everything because you never know what you're going to have your interest in. You've probably heard me say that before. And then you'll get to a stage, and it might be 6 months, 5 years, and it's different for everyone, before you start thinking to yourself, man, I really enjoy this thing over here. So you've got one therapist at the moment who's done a great job. He was sort of exploring the different parts of the profession and started to get interested in TMJ. So he came to me and saying, I think I'm really interested in this area. And I said, well, if you're interested, then let's invest in it. I said, I'm willing to invest in this monetarily if you're willing to invest in it with time.
Yeah.
And he was right, let's go. I said, but we're not going to do a YouTube course that goes for 6 minutes. We're going to do the proper courses. So he's like, right, I'm all in. So he started really studying. And we're talking about getting into, 40, 50-hour courses and sitting online stuff that took him months to do. Because he was ready to go out to see the dentist the next day. I said, no. So you need more knowledge on the TMJ than those guys, which sounds crazy, but if you rock up and you show that you don't know anything, you'll get spat out. So he worked for months, maybe 9 to 12 months on TMJ stuff, and I probably invested a couple of grand into his learning. And then I said, okay, mate, now you got to get out and you got to go and you got to see these dentists. You got to make yourself known. They know you're there, you won't get referrals. So he was absolutely crapping himself. Fair enough. It's a bit daunting. But I said, mate, you'll be shocked because there'll be people out there that will be fascinated with your level of knowledge, of which he went, surely not. So they're dentists. They don't use manual therapy. So if you can put forward that you can make changes and you say so in a manner which is professional, then they'll definitely consider it. Because if a patient says, hey, Mr. Dentist, my jaw is still aching, and they've done everything they can, they'll think, oh, what else can I do? Oh, I've got this guy. Yeah. So he now has gone from probably half full a week, and now he's starting to book up a couple of weeks in advance, and it's predominantly with TMJ patients. I used to know more than him on TMJ, and now I'm listening in thinking, wow. So his knowledge has gone through the roof. I don't even know what he's talking about half the time. So even in a big clinic like ours, if TMJ comes through, we just all refer to him. So he gets intra-clinic referrals. And now he's getting dentists they're starting to refer. And of course, dentists talk to dentists who talk to dentists. Patients talk to patients who talk to patients. Yeah. So now he's getting all these referrals coming through just for TMJ. And the thing with TMJ, which is sort of one of my other points, is to reduce your session times, is the bulk of our profession goes for 1 hour. And it needs to be 1 hour for certain types of therapy and certain type of patients. But for the ones I see, I probably 95% of my session times are half an hour because of the type of work I do. And with TMJ, it's the same thing. You only need half an hour. So if he's only working 4 hours, you can now fit 8 patients in. And instead of the hourly rate being $140, his half hourly rate is going to be about $95. So he's bringing in, $180, $190 an hour instead of $140. So he's slowly worked towards his specialty. He doesn't treat all TMJ, he treats other stuff, of course. But he's worked his way into an area where it's good on his hands because it's not big, heavy work. It's good on his body because he's a bit of a floppy and he struggles with the standing up all day long. So he's focused on an area which helps him with his physicality. he's now got all his referrers because he's gone out there and he's worked really bloody hard. He had a few failures, which you always will. You just got to pick yourself up and go to the next one. And now you can see he's just starting to build his career based around TMJ.
Yeah,
So
it's
only taking him 14 months from the decision to go, I want to do TMJ, to 14 months later being, he's probably 60 to 70% TMJ patients now. And of course, he's only a year and a bit in. So give him 3 or 4 years, he'll be the go-to person in Canberra. It's inevitable because no one else is focusing as hard as what he is and developing the knowledge and the skill set and the reputation. So for me, having that speciality is an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, I love it. And the other thing I'd mention from that, Brad, is it's specialization, which is great as we're moving up the career path. And it's a specialization that is gentler on the body, because I know that's one of the other things people say as well. That's why I don't see like 40 clients a week, because my body can't handle it. And it doesn't have to be TMJ, by the way. There's a bunch of things that can be really gentle.
Yeah, and I've done that with another person, James. She said she gets a lot of ganglion systems on. And I said, all right, you're not going to last doing this heavy work. So you have to look at other types of therapies like needling, cupping, and so on, where you can give your hands a rest, try to focus more on those, or go into lymphatic management, which is very light work. So she chose lymphatic management. So she's just finished her course 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So a 6-month-long course. And now she's, as you said, she's now into an area where the work is a lot lighter. So she can do work to accommodate her lack of physical strength because of the ganglion cyst that forms in her hands.
Yeah. And we have examples too, like we have Christine who teaches gentle scar therapy. And that really is a completely different type of therapy it's got gentle moves on scars, but it's completely separate from an actual physical remedial style of massage. And then she has the remedial hot stones as well, which is using the kind of heat to help the remedial treatment work better. We've had a couple of questions in here specifically about charging. So I want to just have a quick look at a couple of those, if you don't mind, Brad. One of the questions we've got there is about a rebooking charge from Emma. And I know Sally mentioned it in the chat there, but this is part of what we have in our training. And I'd be interested in your feedback on this, Brad. But one of the things we teach, not as like a must do, but just an option, is that people pay when they book as a booking fee. And then when you're rebooking them, one of the incentives is, well, you don't have to pay that rebooking fee again because you already have this appointment. The next one has that rebooking fee taken off it. So it's kind of like a way of having an actual dollar amount incentive for someone to rebook. Now, I kind of prefer the idea like you were sharing of just book them in advance anyway. Like, why wait until that moment where they've only got one in advance? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But specifically, Emma, that's what that term is about. It's like having that rebooking charge that you're not taking.
Yeah, and this is already done in other professions.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. We actually stole that idea from hairdressers, or was it a hairdresser or a beauty therapist? I can't remember. But it's one of those things that's like Christine saw it somewhere. She's like, why don't we just teach this to our massage therapist? It's great.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was inflation, right? Like I did this maths equation maybe a year ago, where it's like, if you look at what people were charging before 2020, and the average was maybe $85, $95 an hour here in Australia. And then we had this massive inflation for a few years, right? Like inflation was at 7-8% for a few years in a row. And so literally, if you look at that every year adding up, it comes up to something like $120 per hour. To be charging the same is what that means. Like it's not actually an increase. It's just literally to charge the same, or your expenses have gone up, all of everyone else's expenses have gone up. To be charging the same amount, it needs to be raising at least with inflation. And then never mind that now you've got 5 years extra experience since before 2020, you should be charging even more. So I think sometimes we hear people say, oh, I haven't raised my rates in like 3 years. And I'm like, you're going backwards. You literally can't do that and run a business. You've got to at least maintain. If you were happy with your income before, you've got to maintain. But hopefully you're raising up as you get more experience and stuff anyway.
Yeah, we generally raise our fees 3 times every 2 years.
Yeah.
So Obviously looking at CPI, which has been horrible in the last 5-6 years worldwide, of course. But we also try to get a little bit ahead. So if you're just keeping up with CPI, then no one's really going to have any wage growth. So we always, so it's 3 times a year. So the third one is the one where we actually go ahead of CPI. So then we all make a little bit more money, so I can spread that money amongst the employees. And I don't even hesitate. And I've heard 1 billion people say this before. I put up my prices and nothing changed, and it's always the case. It's always the case. I've taken people from, we've got 3 levels. We've got standard level, senior level, and principal level. One girl, it took her 5 years to go to principal. She just couldn't do it. Just afraid that no one would turn up. And it was a big jump. It was like for an hour, it was about a $45 increase per hour. And of course, typically what happened, she went up and she was booked out longer.
Yeah.
So for the people, I mean, if you've only got a 10-20% booking per week, maybe don't increase your prices too much in those circumstances. But if you're booked up for a week in advance, it's crazy not to. It's what every profession does. It's simple economics of supply and demand. And if the 1 or 2 people say, I can't afford that anymore, then it opens up a slot for those people that can. I'll always refer, so for people come to say, oh, look, but I can't afford your prices. I can't come once a week. And I'll say, no problem. Just see Jim for the next 2 weeks at the standard prices, and I'll see you in the 3rd week. And I can't remember the last time anyone said no to that. But that's if you're in a clinic situation. So in a clinic situation, having those 3 levels, I mean, if you have a look at our stats, all the principals are booked out.
Yeah.
All the seniors are mostly booked out, and the standard ones are not quite booked out.
Yeah.
And now I'd argue some of those standard therapists, they're just as good. It's just that there's potentially a perception that I want to see a senior person or I want to see a principal person. And you look at the online bookings will go to the senior and principal every single time. They'll hunt and look and go, oh, I'll go to a standard person, thinking they're going to get a substandard treatment, which is not true.
Yeah.
It's just that.
But some of this comes back to marketing and psychology. It's a little bit counterintuitive sometimes to therapists who haven't learned this or experienced it before. But I sometimes talk about that analogy of like someone who's booking a treatment, especially if it's their first one, they don't understand. They don't understand what the treatment is or the difference between someone who is like a senior or a standard, or like if they've never experienced it, how do they actually know what's going to happen or not? And if they've got a real problem, of course they're going to choose the person that they perceive is most likely to fix that problem.
Right.
Price is not as much of a lever for choice as people think it is. And I think about it a little bit like if you go to buy a new TV and, you go into the electronics store and it's like, I don't know anything about TVs, but down that end of the wall, there's TVs that are $200. And down that end of the wall, there's TVs that are $16,000. Like there's such a wide range. Which TV is better in inverted commas? It's like you just know it's the expensive ones, right? It's price without much other knowledge is a really simple indicator of quality. And so someone who comes along, they've got an injury, they're looking down your list, they see some therapists that are like $160, $180 for a treatment, another one that's $140, another one that's $120. And then they look at that place down the road where there's like, flashing lights signage and they're like $85 for an hour. It's like, which one are they going to choose if they've got an actual problem? They're going to choose the one that's the most expensive because they think, rightly or wrongly, that they're the one that's going to be most likely to give them a solution.
Yeah, and that's right. I've had about 10 points I was going to make then. Going back to like session times, the moment you become good, inverted commas, at something, you develop a reputation for it. Especially when your skill set becomes more efficient, then you can reduce the amount of time spent with each patient. You don't need the hour anymore because you become so much more efficient with your skill set. Your history taking, your subject or objective assessment. You can say, I know what's indicated for this patient because I've seen 100 of them. So you don't have to fumble through. So you can reduce that time frame. And I don't think our profession does that well enough at all. The amount of people that in the survey that I did with 140 people reply, where it was at least 120 that they only did hour-long sessions. Now, again, if you put yourself in the Cert 4 area with like the Dota Spa type stuff, then potentially that's what the patient demands. If you're in the remedial, you might be a little bit here and there where you might get people saying, I just want my legs done, just my quads or something, and you might get away with a 45-minute or something. But when you get into the area of assess treat, where half an hour is ample, we need more therapists to get into that mindset of assess treat. And via our competency standards, that's what the diploma is. It's supposed to be assess treat. Now, if you didn't get that in your school, then that's very frustrating. There's nothing stopping you from going and gaining that knowledge elsewhere, and then slowly work your career towards treating those people with injuries. You've got to remember where I want to get a relaxation massage, but I need to get my shoulder pain fixed, right? So again, that want and that need, you might be in a certain area where the want outweighs. Like you go to Noosa, everyone that goes to Noosa has got a lot of wants, maybe not a whole lot of needs. Sorry for those people in the US, but it's Noosa is one of the places you go for a holiday and relax and coffee, beach, and restaurants. Whereas the needs, so here in Canberra, where we are a lot of people that have got needs. Like they've got high corporate jobs, they're high up in the public service, they can't have this bloody headache that's annoying them. So we get a lot of the need patients, which is a lot of the half an hour ones. So we can fit a lot more people in. I think one of my colleagues last week did 21 people in a day. And he did it just to be a smart ass, really, because we got these stupid clinic records, which are dumb. But it's he wanted to break the clinic record, so he just had a ridiculously big day. I'm like, you're breaking so many fair rules, mate. But they were all half an hour, so he shot through it. But again, it's that a lot of people perceive his skill set as a necessity. He treats a lot of runners, elite runners, and he's created himself this. He's the go-to person for Achilles. If someone's got Achilles pain in Canberra that's a runner, you go and see Jimmy. It's just where you go. So, and those guys, if you've known any runners, it's all need. It's nothing to do with want. Runners need to run, not want. So he's in that need-based area. So I think more of the therapists that I see and talk to need to consider that, because a lot of people are saying, I'm not seeing enough people, and I look at what they do, and they've got hour-long appointments that they only offer remedial massage. Now, a really good remedial massage therapist, and whatever that looks like, you have to be bloody good to differentiate yourself from the others. We've got the Thai massage places. They're everywhere. I'm not sure what it's like in other parts of Australia, but every second corner in Canberra now, they're everywhere. So to me, they will start to take up a lot of that remedial massage area where people go, I'm just sore. So, there's a shop. They go in, they don't fill out any forms. They jump on the table and they get that session done. So potentially what's happening with our remedial massage portion is that might be shrinking a little bit because it's been engulfed by that Thai massage place. And I go to Thai massages, they're bloody great. So how do you differentiate yourself from those people to be perceived as more worthy of paying money? So to me, if we get more people moving into the assess and treat section, one, it gets perceived as more professional, but it also gets perceived as more a necessity, and more people are more likely to refer to you because they'll see you as like you get a sports physician saying, no, I don't want to have a remedial massage. I want the focus to be soft tissue work around the shoulder or around the hip or wherever it is. So they'll sort that person that has the perception of being that assess and treat people. So a lot of people have tried to mentor. I look at what they do and think, you might love that remedial massage portion of the profession, and that's fine, but it's limiting you to the amount of patients that you're likely to see and to retain and attract. Unless you're so good with your hands And like some of our guys, we've got 2 people that are so good with their bloody hands, it's ridiculous. And I love seeing them. And we've got other people that they're not as good with their hands. They're just not. And it's a pretty harsh feedback when you say, look, your hands can be better. And that's why retention rate is not great. And I send it a lot of secret shoppers. And then they'll ring me up saying, great demeanor, ask all the right questions, but their hands they were a little bit all over the place. So if that person was out by themselves, they just would struggle to build. So to deal with them, say, look, you really need to up your hand skills if you want to be in that remedial massage portion of the profession. But you also have some really good skills with headaches. And I think that if you can just focus your hands around the neck and some postural-based stuff, then we can start to filter people into you with those headaches, so you're more likely to retain and attract. Our profession just doesn't do that well enough to get in that speciality area.
Yeah.
Sorry, go.
I was just going to reflect on what you're saying too, because I think there needs to be a distinction between people who are ready to spend, like you mentioned before, 14 months or longer, like developing a really specific niche, and reversing to what I see. Like my background is marketing, right? Marketing and business. So I see that lots of massage therapists, they might have enough hands-on skills to treat headaches or to do a great generalized remedial treatment or any other kind of specialization in inverted terms that they've just learned as part of their main training, but they don't market it. They don't tell people that that's what they can do. So they still don't end up with clients for that specific niche, which means they don't gain more expertise. It's kind of like blocking their learning in something because they don't know how to market it.
They've got to market it. And that's why the example I gave with the TMJ guy, to tell him to go out and to see dentists was one of the more daunting things that I think life has ever thrown at him. But he's now done it. He's got the confidence up now, and he can't wait to see the next dentist. And come on, let me out. I've got to see the next dentist. So he's putting himself right smack in the face of the very person that sees hundreds of people a fortnight, and even only gets 2 referrals a fortnight for 1 a week from those people. That's a whole lot of referrals, and that becomes, if you've got 1 referral a week from 1 dentist, wow.
Yeah.
It's an enormous amount, especially with the type of pain it is, because TMJ pain is not one treatment. TMJ pain is associated with a dentist in the splint, potentially a psychologist, potentially someone with a sleep specialist. So there's a whole lot going on before that person alleviates their TMJ pain. And we become a part of that team, and a very necessary one, because we probably have the best skill sets to reduce pain straight away for a period of time. So we get perceived as, all right, so I'm really glad we've got this person on board with us. They're going to look after your pain and minimize your symptoms while we deal with the back end stuff, which might be your anxiety levels or your sleep disorder or your ruptured disc in your James on.
And a lot of the time, what I see holds people back is lack of confidence rather than lack of skills. Like, again, if we think just of people who might be willing to specialize in something that is a little bit more base level, doesn't require heaps of extra training, but things like headaches, or I don't know, you can niche down into different specific things however deeply you want to. But sometimes it's just the confidence. It's like, I want to feel confident to approach a dentist. Well, how do I do that? And maybe TMJ does require more training, but for simple things like posture, headaches, even things like sports, if they've done some sports training as part of their past, it's like, all you got to do is go out there and start talking to these people, and the expertise builds itself. Confidence is the first step. And I think that's, if you've got someone like you, Brad, being able to hold someone's hand and maybe challenge them a little bit to step out and talk to the right people, that's really great. We do the same sort of thing. And I guess what I see is, I often see people who think, I just need to go and study the next course, then I'll be confident. I just need to go and get deeper training, then I'll be confident. And I kind of feel like confidence comes through doing more than it does by learning.
Doing.
If you go and do stuff, then you've already done it. Of course you're confident with it, because you've already done it. It's like our brain gets tricked into thinking there's some magical time in the future when we're going to be more confident than we are now. But it actually happens just by doing things. So having the courage to step out, go talk to some people, try and get a referral. What's the worst can happen? You fail and you learn what it is you need to know. Like that's a great thing also.
Be excited. Be excited about making a mistake.
Yeah.
Just turn that mantra on its head. Just go out and go, I'm going to make a mistake today and it's going to be hilarious. Let's go.
And I'm going to learn something either way, right? Either someone will say yes, and I'll learn an amazing way to be able to get new clients, or they're going to say no, this is why, and I'll learn what the gap is. I'll learn what it is that I might do better next time, or what I need to know. It's awesome.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
I think I said in the last talk with you, if people don't know you exist, they're not going to refer. You've got to become relevant. And there's so many ways you can become relevant. Like I said at the start, that I become relevant because I just put my face in front of everyone else. I got onto boards, I got onto committees, I went to workshops, I went to conferences, I ran conferences, I wrote articles. I did everything I could to put myself forward as a person of relevance. And then I remember saying, I can't be arrogant, because, the definition of arrogance is confidence beyond your ability. So I remember thinking, all right, confidence comes with competence. So then at the back end, I was studying my butt off, thinking, if I'm going to say be good at headaches, I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks reading so much about headaches that I'll get one. And to the point where, I know the 13 headaches. I know why the bulk of them occur. I understand the indication for treatments where we can't treat. So when someone says, I'm going to send you this person with a headache, I can say, which one? They go, oh, it's I'm not sure. Well, is it a cluster? Is it a blah, blah, blah? And as soon as you can put that across, that person goes, wow, geez, this person's got a lot of knowledge. And straight away, they get that confidence because you've shown the competence. So although you just got to go out there and make mistakes, it doesn't mean you don't go out there blind and say, I'm good at headaches. Why? Because I said I was. You've obviously got to put the work in, and there's all the information is for free these days. We used to have to pay for the bloody stuff, but the information is out there now. And if you want to become a really good sports massage therapist, there is no excuse. The information is out there. The mentors are out there. There's so many really good mentors out there. I'll mentor anyone. I don't care who it is. I love doing that sort of stuff and trying to get those people into positions quicker than what I did, because I can tell them what to do and what not to do, because I made plenty of mistakes at the time. But I got used to making mistakes, and I made mistakes in front of 500 people down in Melbourne in the public lecture theatre one day, and I stopped and remember halfway through a lecture thinking, oh shit. But I actually backtracked and I said, guys, I've just thought about it. What I said 2 minutes ago was a lot of rubbish. And I just had a bit of an epiphany thinking, geez, I think that's a mistake. Do you guys agree that was a mistake? So I put it to them to empower them. So then they got back saying, yeah, we're all thinking about that. And I said, yeah, God, what do you guys think? How should I change that slide? Because I've just realized I've stuffed up. So I tried to change that stuff up into some type of momentum to show that I was open to learning. And it probably ended up being my most favorite talk of all time. It was about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, I'm going to make mistakes, stuff it. I'm just going to go out there and do it and own it. And even start off by saying, guys, I'm pretty new to this lecture theatre stuff. I'm probably going to make an error or two. Please don't hesitate to tell me when I make one.
Yeah.
And I think if you can go out there and own it like that, then the people will downgrade their expectations and become someone who wants to be part of your growth rather than ridicule your growth.
Yeah. And I think the whole point to making mistakes is not, it's okay to make mistakes, just keep making them. The point is, it's okay to have the confidence to try something before you're 100% going to be absolutely perfect and learn from the mistakes. Mistakes are part of that learning journey to get to a higher level of knowledge, not just, I'm lowering my standard, but I'm expecting that mistakes are part of my learning journey, which is really cool. We've spent a little while talking already, Brad. Are you right to talk for a little bit longer?
I'm fine.
Yeah, I might just go through, because we did have the 5 things. We have actually ended up talking about them all, but I'll just read them out as the 5 things that you had in the article, just so people know what we're talking about. Number 1 was increase your hourly rate. That's the first step to earning more. Number 2, increase your hours, as in the number of hours you're actually paid doing paid work, increase those.
To do that, you've got to increase your physical and mental
fitness or capability.
Endurance. Yeah.
Yeah. Reduce session times is number 3. So you can fit more clients into the same number of hours that you're working. Number 4, differentiate yourself. So standing out in the market so people know who you are. You're getting in front of people, like you mentioned, maybe for a specialization. And then number 5 is offer treatment options that reduce physical load. So I guess that's a way, like we did sort of mention that, a way of being able to work more hours is to make sure that it's not physically straining. And different people might be different capability levels for that even to start with. But there are some very gentle techniques.
It doesn't have just to be cupping or dry needling or lymphatic drainage. I took 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was 4 therapists to Sydney in January, and we all did a Pilates course. So you had to be a therapist before you were able to do this course, so you could fast track all the back stuff. And it was like 5 full-on days. We were exhausted, like 8 to 9 hour days to learn a particular part of Pilates. So now those 4, and myself, but those 4 now can break up their week. We got a Pilates studio. So a couple of people going, I'm not ready for my hands-on to do that many hours, which is absolutely fair enough. That's why we graduate people. I often put people on the front desk. So they work at the front desk and then they reduce those hours over time and they go, I'm ready for another 5 hours. I'm ready for another 5 hours. But with the Pilates, you're not hands-on. You're watching people move and teaching them how to move. So it's a completely different mindset. So you've got to change in the psychology so you don't get fatigued from dealing with hands-on all day. Plus, it's a different physical strain. So it doesn't just, and I don't know why more people don't do that. You can buy a trap table for $1,000. You can do a course for a couple of $1,000 and invest that time. So you can spend 10 hours a week doing some Pilates with people. And it's a great progression. So, okay, look, you got some postural stuff, which is leading to some headaches and some shoulder pain. I'm going to poke, prod. Look, you're really good now. I think we should stabilize you in this position. So let's move you into the Pilates room. And we're going to do 3 or 4 sessions to build up the strength now that you're in that postural position. So there's plenty of ways for that last point to be realized. And what it does is enable, points 2 and 3, which is to increase your hours and also reduce your times that you treat. Because when you get into dry needling, you're generally not doing a remedial massage. You're doing the assess treat part. So there's all those things combine into creating a more global therapist where you can do a whole lot more things, reduce the psychological strain, the physical strain, and attract more people.
We also see people who use more like equipment-based approaches, and it depends on what kind of clinical environment you're in as well and how much space you've got, like physically. But you can have things like saunas, infrared saunas, or those oxygen tanks or float tanks, like all sorts of different things can happen, which we kind of look at as how can we try and achieve some of the same results for the same type of clients, but without me needing to put my hands on people. And that there's a whole bunch of different options that people can have a look at there. I'm aware we've already got some people who are like, got to run. They've got other appointments and probably clients that they've got to go see, Brad. So we might start to sort of wrap it up. But before we finish, we've got the wheel that we're going to spin to draw the MWax. Yeah. So just to kind of frame that up, MWax is the product that you and Renee started. It must be a few years ago now. Was it, Brad?
21 years ago.
Oh, there you go. I didn't even realize that it had been around that long, but it's something that where we've actually met you guys at conferences and stuff because of MWax, because you travel around showing people the wax that you use for massage and what other people can buy online. And we're giving away $300 worth of MWax, basically a voucher. So whoever wins it can buy whatever they want with the MWax. I'm just going to share screen here so we can do an actual wheel. I've copy and pasted everyone's name who was online, but it's everyone who was online about 20 minutes ago. So if they're still here, they can win. If we spin and someone has already had to leave, I'm not going to chase them up. We'll just spin again. So let's just cross our fingers. Hope it's someone who's online now. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that noise, but it's like, oh, Tanya Thornton. Are you on the call right now, Tanya? Oh, there's even like a little applause noise that you guys probably can't hear. But Tanya Thornton wins the $300 voucher. Hey, she's online. That's awesome. I might get you, Tanya.
Hi, Tan. Good to see you, mate.
Do you know Tanya, Brad?
Well, I think so, unless it's the wrong.
Well, that's awesome. I was going to say, we'll have your details from when you signed up, at least your email address and that sort of stuff. So we can pass those over to Brad and the team at MWax to get in touch. Well done, Tanya. Thank you for sharing so much today, Brad. Honestly, I feel like we've kind of like dived down a few little rabbit warrens, had a bit of a discussion around the edges of different things, and then dived really deep into other stuff. The replay of this, or the recording, will go out to everyone who has registered. So the people who are online here now, as well as people who haven't been able to make it live. And we'll also link to that article that you've got. I assume that's on your blog or somewhere by now, Brad, or we can make sure that it's online somewhere.
Yeah, Renee's got it up.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that's linked to as well for people who want to see that. Have you got any sort of final pearls of wisdom to mic drop before we finish up for today, Brad?
Pearls of wisdom. Pearls of wisdom to mic drop. I think the one that's been on my mind the last few weeks, because of the background stuff I've been poking ribs with, is we need to all band together as professionals and portray ourselves as professionals, and make sure that each individual does so. Now, there might be some people out there, and there has been people out there that have said, why would I do this? I'm a fool. I don't need to do this. And my point is it's not just about you. It's about the profession and the people that will come when we all retire. It's about the future. And if we all band together as one, that's why I keep pushing all the associations to amalgamate, then the perception will be on a national level. And once we've created that perception of professionalism, then we'll be treated as such. And people like today, they'll be willing to spend more money per half an hour due to that. So get on board with the unified lobby, and get on board to try and push the bloody associations to amalgamate. So we've got a unified lobby. There's a bit of politics at the end, which would probably resonate with people all over the world.
Yeah, no, I love it. And the idea of unity is really powerful. In fact, maybe we should come back for another chat about that at some point, Brad, because I know it has been getting a bit of traction online at the moment. A bit of to and fro, and some great ideas being thrown around, and definitely some stuff that we can discuss a bit deeper.
Yeah, it'd probably be an incredibly popular one, because I reckon you could do a TMJ talk and might get 20, 30 people. But the moment you create some politics and some gossip, then people flock to it.
Yeah, which is more useful though, Brad? That might also be a whole different discussion. But anyway, thank you for today. Today's stuff is really useful. It's really useful for therapists to be able to grow, produce longevity. Absolutely love it. We will finish up there for today. Thank you, everyone. Let's give Brad a thumbs up and a wave in the chat there to say thank you for being so open and sharing so deeply about what's going on. And we will finish up there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you later.
You guys. Bye-bye.